Good morning, guys. How are you? I just want to continue my series, stories with Dan. So today, I'd like to talk about my childhood and some of the difficulties that I went through. So I think I mentioned it briefly before, but basically, I had dyslexia and ADHD at school, and I couldn't read and write, and I got left behind, I got left behind at school. By the time I got to high school, I would just sit there and do nothing. Um, I don't know if there was much programs for kids like myself. It was a very painful experience. As an adult, I can articulate some of the thoughts and feelings that I would have been going through, but as a child, that wasn't possible. And basically, that um it led me into a life of real struggles. It led me into addiction, it led me into crime, it led me into not being able to fit in, um just basically, being an outcast in society. So yeah, by the time I got to high school, would just sit there, wouldn't do anything. I had no self-esteem, I had no self-confidence. You know I could get a job, but I couldn't hold down a job. From the ages of really, 15 to 25, I was just really, really struggling. Every day was, um, just a battle. I basically every day I would go out and I would steal things, and I would, um, to feed my drug habit. And um, yeah, I ended up in prison. My first day of prison was my 21st birthday, so I ended up in prison for assault, which, it's it's very embarrassing, and it's very, it's it's not a nice thing. I remember even, I lost my dad when I was 25, and me and my wife, we started going back to church. I'd come good. I'd got an apprenticeship, and I was doing really well. And then my father had died, and we started going to church, and we started to connect with other, people in the church. But it was really hard to connect with people my own age, because, when I was, 25, most people that age, they've gone through and done a trade, or they've gone to university, and, they're sort of starting out in their career, and, they've started to buy homes, and, things like that. And we were really not there just yet. We were I was really struggling to get work, and I could get some jobs, like some labor hire jobs, and, not really anything too great. But yeah, it was a really difficult journey. It was a really difficult road. To go from basically being unemployable to, eventually, I was able to get some jobs, and eventually I started my first business, and, that went really well. um, but to be honest, I probably still had, um, baggage and pain that still followed me through, some of them later years. And yeah, I spoke about my mental breakdown the other day. But yeah, I mean, essentially, um, yeah, it's been a real journey. It's been a real struggle. And, these days I can get a job real easy. You know what I mean? I applied for some jobs the other day, and I got one straight away. I've been pretty successful in sales, and I've been, pretty successful with my small businesses. So, through all the, trials, I've been able to get some skills, um, in some different areas, and able to use some of those, hard times to be able to, gain skills and things like that. So I mean, for a long time, I done a lot of training and got a lot of tickets, and, I got my truck driver's license, and I got, rigging, dogging, forklift, all these different tickets, all, to be able to get skills. And I actually ended up getting a trade certificate as well later in life. I did recognition of prior learning. I had a landscaping business, and to be able to do jobs over 5 grand, um, you have to have a trade essentially. So I went and got that. So, I've been able to turn it around, but it hasn't been easy. You know what I mean? I lost my father when I was 25, and um, you know, that's been difficult. And my mother sort of moved on quite quickly to a new bloke, and that's been quite difficult as well. And we don't really have much contact with her, and that's quite painful when you see other people that have good parents and grandparents for the kids, and when they get help with pick up, drop off, or after school care and things like that, which we don't really have that from my side of the family. But yeah, that's it's all fine. It it makes you tougher, it makes you stronger. Me and my wife are super. We love each other a lot, and we're really strong. And um but yeah, it's definitely one of the things where you go through a lot of trials, and you can't see it at the time, but sometimes it's shaping you into who God wants you to be. And um, it gives you compassion, and it gives you insight. But yeah, basically, I just wanted to jump on and just do a little chat about my schooling, and what that led to. And yeah, the struggles that I had. This day and age, I'm very fortunate. I mean, I think we're all fortunate that there's AI, and we can use AI to, type out emails or do different things like that. So yeah, it's a bit of a game changer. But that's a little bit about my story about school and reading and writing, and some of my difficulties. So yeah, I want to be able to encourage people that just because you start off with some struggles or whatever, doesn't necessarily mean that's the end of the story. You just got to keep moving. You got to keep pushing forward. You got to keep showing up day after day, week after week. Keep one foot in front of the other. It's really tough, but yeah, things can turn around. And sometimes people that come from the hardest struggles end up, with the best stories. So yeah, thanks everyone. I'll leave it there, and we'll chat again soon. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks. Bye.